squid fishing's here, and it's time to talk how to rig these up in 2024 to give you the most success in your outing. So off the piers is probably the easiest way to target Pacific market squid in Puget Sound. And frankly, you don't need a boat, you don't need expensive gear, you just need a few jigs to get yourself going, and you can be the one filling buckets full of squid. So we first got to highlight the rigging here. And it's super simple and really doesn't need to be any more complex than you really need to make it. So as straightforward as possible, we'll go through just a few different riggings that you can do, and you find out for yourself what you have the most confidence in and what your favorite is. So for me, in 2024, I'm doing one of two things. I'm either fishing a single jig or I'm fishing a double rig like you see here. But there are different ways to go about this. So let's quickly dive into it. If you're going to go the single jig route, and this is probably the easiest for a beginner, is you're going to want a squid jig. They look like this, weighted with some kind of a spider hook. Okay, this is a 5/8 ounce. This is a commercial one that's just a little bit more than a 1/2 ounce. And here's another one that I make custom. That's 1 ounce. A bottom jig like that is going to do really good for two things. You can use these heavier weights in different currents based upon the tide to help get you your squid. It's easy as just dropping these off the pier and jigging them up and down. Sometimes they want a more erratic fall. Sometimes they want almost nothing and just a small slight movement. So you gotta let the squid tell you what they want, and that makes it really easy for the most part, because once you have your squid jig, you can go ahead and use the rods that you already have. Your trout, salmon, steelhead, those will all catch you squid. There's no doubt about that. But what I will tell you is there is a better specialized rod if you want to go that route, and we'll cover that here in just a second. So if you're a beginner and you want to get started, a few different jigs in the sizes, I'd say 1/2 ounce, 3/4, and 1 ounce will definitely get you done. As far as color wise, pinks, oranges, and reds seem to be really good, but never rule out the greens too, or a combination like you see here of the different colors. But everything is glow. That's really, really important. Glow is a must on squid jigs. Now, if you want to go a different route, get a little bit more complex, but also give you an opportunity to potentially catch additional squid, you can go a 2-rig setup. And a 2-rig setup typically is originated here with a bottom jig. So this one's weighted. Then you got about, 12 inches of leader, 18 inches of leader. And you have a top jig. And this is typically unweighted. Now what's cool about all these squid jigs is they all have a bottom loop in the wire. One or two ways you can do this is just, for me, I like quick change. So I put these dual locks on because I can change out the color as fast as I want to during a good bite. And I can just easily switch back and forth. If I can do this on the camera. Back and forth here. So there's a dual lock. Makes it super easy for me. But something I learned from the guys down at the pier, take a look what I got underneath this dual lock. It is a little stir straw and a bobber stop. The whole point of that is to keep as much as possible from this tangling in your line. It really straightens everything out, makes it easy. Now this is only 20-pound test. Some guys run 50. It's totally up to you. 50 definitely has less tangles, but for simplicity's sake, I just have 20 and it works great for me. So that is a double rig, okay, with a weighted and unweighted. You can even go as simple as 2 unweighted jigs, okay, right? A pink and a green like this. And then you can attach a weight to the bottom of your bottom jig. And you can create that to be any size that you want. This could be a 1/2 ounce cannonball, a 3/4 ounce cannonball, a 1 ounce cannonball. You can customize it that way with a little dual lock snap swivel. and make your rig frankly fish however you want. You could even make it like a dropper setup where this has another small 8 to 10 inches of leader so that your weight is on the bottom and your jigs are positioned above that. I've seen people be really successful with that too. It's really, again, to your own imagination of how you want to target these squid. A lot of the time, though, if you're a beginner and making it straightforward and easy, a simple weighted jig will get it done day in and day out. But that's a breakdown of just simple rigging. You also want to talk about storage for squid jigs. Squid jigs are notorious because of how many hook points that they have to get caught on everything. And I'm serious, everything. Clothes, gloves, tackle bags, whatever. So you got to have some way of storing them. And a couple different ways that I have found. You can find a nice little tackle box storage that's got deeper compartments because these squid jigs, their hooks are definitely larger, but you want something that you can fit your jigs into, right? And they fit nicely, tucked away, and you can organize them from top jigs, bottom jigs, weighted, all sorts of different stuff. This goes into a little tackle bag and you're ready to go. Again, for the simplicity's sake of it, something that you probably already have will already work. How about this though? If you got a lot of those old medicine pill bottles, I never throw these away because these are one of the best fishing gadgets you could have. Look at this, okay? An old pill bottle. I can fit a handful of jigs for my outing, right? A couple unweighted, a couple weighted, ready to go. And it all conveniently goes back into the pill bottle. And you don't need anything fancy. This, frankly, can go right into your pocket and you're back and going, okay? That's what is so nice about some of these different ways to store. I can have enough jigs in here, and maybe I have 2 of these in a day on my trip, and I'm ready to go. Now, you have to mention how you rig this up on a rod, right? I have a rod right here already set up to go, and we'll go over gear in a second because it does help when you need specialized stuff if you're going to do this more, just to be a little more efficient. But here, we got ourselves a double rig, okay? 5/8 ounce bottom jig, my spacer, and my top jig. But what you'll see here, I'll position this, I have an oversized corky on top. When you're on the piers, rigging things up, whether you have just a single jig or double, having a corky above it is going to be really crucial so everybody, including yourself, can see where your line's at. This will really be helpful to distinguish not only where you're drifting your gear through, but that way somebody doesn't attack, that way that someone doesn't cast over you and you potentially get tangled, because it can happen and can get really bad if you're not paying attention to where your gears are. So these really help indicate to everybody what's going on. But for breakdown, there you go. Super straight, easy. Double rig, squid setup, or single, you can go fill some buckets right now. It's November 2024. The big jumbos are showing up. It is time to get down to the piers and go get these things. Now, for the specialized rod, again, most of what you have out there in the 8-foot to 9-foot rods will definitely catch you squid. So don't necessarily have to go out and buy something. But if you want to do this more often and be more successful, there are specialized rods to catch squid. Things like this guy here, which is actually a crappie rod, a 9-foot light action. It really, really helps to see the squid bite your jig, because you're not casting your jigs. You're flipping them out in front of you off the pier, and you're literally slowly just twitching the rod back. I found out on my last outing that the squid didn't even want the really erratic jigging. They just wanted it to almost be sitting still. The squid were attacking the jig at a standstill. So what that ended up doing is I needed something to really see the sensitivity of those squid just pushing the jig as they come up and grab it. So this light rod really, really made a difference. This was $30. Okay, this is not expensive gear. Now, I have a bit of a nicer reel because I think the reel is where you're going to have your money coming in. But this is a salmon reel that I use. I'm not switching much gear. I'm not spending a lot of money on that because I already had majority of it, and you might too. Now, if you guys get this video to 100 likes, I'm going to show you guys a budgetary setup out the door for $50. And you guys will love what I have to show you. So the specialized gear really makes a difference in bringing home a lot more squid in your buckets. And speaking of buckets, how do you take care of your squid? That's really the next piece of this puzzle, because when you're on the pier, it's usually crowded shoulder to shoulder. There's a lot of people around you. There's a lot of things going on. You want to be able to put your squid in a container because you can keep up to 10 pounds. So that's important to have a distinguished way that you're putting these squid in. And as simple as going to your local $1.25 tree, you can get one of these wire mesh baskets, right? $1.25. The squid will go into this, and you can have a small bucket as well with it. The squid will go into here, and you can easily just lift them out. All the water, all the ink, everything else that they're going to be releasing can just be dumped away, and your squid are kept clean, and then you're not weighing a basket that is just full of everything and water. You can then weigh this specifically to get your weight. Again, 10 pounds. Some other gear that's important to have at the pier with you, as I have in my hand, is a good headlamp. It's really important because you can potentially not have much lighting in some of our piers. So you don't need to bring your own light source necessarily. A lot of people will bring generators down with their big floodlights, and those work. You can also get away, and I did a video on a budgetary setup for using a lithium or just a regular deep cycle battery, an inverter, and then your lights. And that'll get you done if you really want to go that route. A lot of times, though, our piers are lit up enough that you don't have to have the big lights. People will bring them down, no doubt, but there are times when almost no lights on a pier can actually fish better than having too much light. So it's up to you. For the beginner, you don't need to go the light route because it's a big investment up front in cost potentially. So you just get your gear and go down and have fun. You're going to want to dress warm. Wintertime squidding is very potential of having weather. It's either windy, it's rainy, and it's cold. Heck, it could be even snowing. So you have all those factors come into play. You got to dress warm. Layer up, hand warmers, everything. Because a lot of the time, you're going late at night or early in the morning to fix on the best tides where there's the least amount of daylight. So it's going to be cold. Please, definitely plan accordingly. Now, if you guys want to see more squid action, check this one out right here as we caught one on a Lego.